All right, let's talk about an idea that might just change how you see value creation. It's called prosperity co-creation, or PCC for short. And the core idea is pretty radical. It basically says, what if we stopped trying to build everything from scratch? What if the value we desperately need is already here, all around us, just disconnected? So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll dig into this problem of hidden value. Then we'll introduce PCC, which is kind of the hero of our story. We'll look at the very specific step-by-step way this system gets turned on, see how all the different pieces work together, and finally, we'll touch on something truly powerful, how it gives a voice to people and places that are usually ignored. Okay, so let's jump right in. The whole reason this system even exists is to solve one core problem. And it's a problem you've probably felt, even if you didn't have a name for it. It's this world full of missed connections, just packed with untapped potential. I really want you to let this question sink in. What if our biggest problem isn't a lack of resources, not a lack of capital, not a lack of knowledge, but a lack of connection? What if everything we need to solve some of our biggest challenges is already in the room, but they just can't see each other? That's the whole game we're talking about today. And that brings us to this key term, stranded value. Think about it like this. Imagine you have two neighbors. One has a garage full of amazing tools but needs help with their garden. The neighbor on the other side, an incredible gardener, but they don't own a single tool. All the value needed to create a beautiful garden is right there, but because there's no gate in the fence, that potential is just trapped. It's stranded. That's stranded value. And this is not just some abstract idea, right? It happens constantly. It's when one company has a budget that would perfectly solve another company's problem, but they're in different silos, so they never talk. It's that huge new real estate project that completely ignores the decades of wisdom the local community has. It's all this capital that's already committed, already sitting in a bank account, but the dots just aren't being connected to put it to its best use. So, if the problem is stranded value, you're probably asking, what's the solution? Well, let's meet the keystone of this entire architecture. It's called prosperity co-creation, or PCC. You can think of it as the anchored builder. It's that stable, foundational piece that makes all the other connections possible. Now, PCC is not a normal company at all. It doesn't run the system, it doesn't store the data, it doesn't execute the projects. It's more like an architect, or maybe a cartographer. Its one and only job is to see, to map out the hidden connections and discover the stranded value that's already lying dormant in the real world. It's the discovery engine. This chart does a great job of showing just how unique PCC's role is. You see, the other entities are the doers. The RE, or relational entity, actually operates the value circuits. The PCEs, or pattern contributor entities, holds their own sovereign data. But PCC, its role is totally different. Its job is to see what wants to happen, map who can make it happen, and, this is crucial, represent those who can't speak for themselves. It's the eyes and the voice of the system, not the hands. And this quote just nails it. You know how in a stone arch, the keystone is that one wedge-shaped stone at the very top? It doesn't hold the weight like the other stones, but it locks everything into place. Without it, the whole arch crumbles. That is the perfect metaphor for PCC's role. It sees the whole picture before any of the other pieces start moving. Okay, so how does something like this actually get started? It's a great question because, as it turns out, the sequence, the order in which you build this thing is every bit as important as what it does. The whole process is designed for integrity right from the get-go. And it all starts with this number, 1%. See, this system isn't kicked off with a bunch of speculative venture capital. Nope. Instead, the partners who are involved commit just 1% of the stranded value that PCC finds. So think about that. You're not looking for new money, you're just activating a tiny fraction of the potential that's already there. And the sequence here is absolutely critical. Let's walk through it. Step 1. PCC is legally formed. It's set up as a non-extractive builder, meaning its whole purpose is to create value for the system, not pull it out for itself. Then, step 2. It goes on a 90-day discovery mission to map all that real-world stranded value. It's only after that value is identified and validated that we get to step 3, where the partners commit their 1% to create the RE, the entity that will actually do the work. This discovery before action model is key. It grounds the whole thing in reality. So, once the switch is flipped and the system is live, how do all the parts work together? Well, the best way to think about it is like a carefully choreographed dance between 4 partners. a symphony of coordination. This table is basically your cheat sheet. You've got the RE, which is the doer, it executes the projects. You've got the PCS, which contribute their lived experience and own their own data. Then you have the social helix, which is like the system's unchangeable memory, the record keeper. And holding it all together, you have PCC, which validates that the work got done, represents the PCS, and makes sure the whole system stays true to its design. And here's the really brilliant part. There is no single point of control. No one entity gets to say what's true or what's valuable. Instead, truth emerges from a consensus. The RE says, I did the thing. PC says, I validate that you did the thing. And the social helix says, I'm recording that the thing was done and validated. It's this distributed trust that makes the system so resilient and resistant to corruption. This idea of distributed trust brings us to what is honestly one of the most profound parts of this whole model. And that's how it manages to create a real voice for those who are almost always left out of these kinds of value creation systems. So PCC can act as a legal and operational proxy, a representative. This means that a community, a tribe, or even a non-human entity like a river or a forest can have its deep wisdom, its ontological intelligence, contribute to creating value. And it can do this without having to show up to a board meeting or, even worse, having all of its rich complexity flattened and reduced to a set of data points on a spreadsheet. The promise here is just so powerful. Be represented without being reduced. It's about ensuring that you can participate in the system with your full dignity and complexity intact. It turns representation from a vague political slogan into a real, functioning protocol. And just look at how the benefits flow. It's a true win-win-win. The big anchor entities get to activate their stranded capital. The communities and tribes get to participate and earn dividends as a fundamental right, not as some form of charity. And a huge chunk gets reinvested right back into the system itself to make sure it stays healthy and true to its purpose. It's a genuinely non-extractive model. And this just hammers home why PCC is called the Keystone. If you take PCC out of the picture, what are you left with? Well, the RE is just another business deal. The communities, the PCs have no voice in the system. And the ledger, the social helix, has nothing trustworthy to record. PCC is that essential first move that unlocks everything else. So after all that, what's the one big idea to walk away with? It's a fundamental shift in how we think about building things. This isn't about more construction, more consumption, more disruption. It's about developing the wisdom to see what's already here and the intelligence to finish it. It's building as an act of completion. And that leaves us with a pretty big question. What could we all complete if we just started looking for it?